All right. Good morning and welcome to the Null News. Now, for all of you who are new, this is where we go over the news for the clouds and computer engineering in general. And I go through a collection of news that was interesting to me and some of the stuff that was interesting to you all. I generally do it in about 3 sections. The first is just kind of 4 sections, but 3 sections. The first is security, the things that I saw happening, and we talk a little bit about the things related to security that we see happening in computer software engineering. The second is the clouds, the different newses for Azure, AWS, and a few others, and we go over those. And then the last section is kind of just the open source news, just different things I saw in open source, in engineering itself, some blog articles. So I usually have an engineering blog of the week for you to look at and read. All right, so let's do some quick updates. Now, as some of you know, I will be traveling for the next 2 weekends, and that means I'm actually going to be in a different time zone. Now, I don't know if it will affect when I do this. This is already early for me, and it will be 3 hours earlier, which I don't know. I'm not sure if it will be like the same time or if it will be a little bit later. I'm kind of voting on a little bit later, but we'll see. What I will do is I will make sure to get the posting out on Saturday so that you know about when it's going to happen. So if you're wanting to join, if that's interesting to you and you're wanting to join, you'll have the time to prepare. I know that I tried to make it kind of around lunchtime for Europe, in the morning before work on the East Coast. We'll have to see how it goes. But for the next 2 weeks, that will. Now, obviously, all of these VODs are saved in the news playlist. So I'll actually link that playlist in the description of this video so you can bookmark that and you can actually watch them not in real time. But I love it when you guys join in chat and try to get me to dox myself. All right, so let's jump into the news. Now, I love this first piece of news here. So we're going to go over security. Good morning, Russell, or afternoon. Here we have cloud-based cryptocurrency miners targeting GitHub Actions and Azure VMs. Now, it's not just Azure VMs. They target any VMs they can get their filthy hands on. But GitHub Actions and Azure virtual machines are being leveraged for cloud-based cryptocurrency mining, indicating sustained attempts in the effort. Okay, kind of standard. You need to make sure that a lot of these are supply chain attacks, but there's a lot of different ways for them to run cryptocurrencies. Gaining access to your account. There's a lot of ways for you to get your VM's cryptocurrency mined. That being said, I wonder if they saw the null block. I made a video. You guys should watch this. This is a cryptocurrency based off of GitHub and GitHub Actions. Again, not sure if I'm breaking terms of service there. I don't think I am. But go watch that video. I think it was fun. Not as clickbaity as I thought it was going to be, but yeah. All right, so this is definitely a. I know last week I accidentally gave you guys an old CVE, but this is definitely a this week's CVE. So this was based off of. Okay, so Microsoft has had a bad week in security. They've had a bad rep before. This week was not their week. So they had quite a few. This was improper privilege management. I should have done this with the other Microsoft ones. We'll touch back on the other Microsoft ones. 7.8 is pretty high. So this is an elevation of privilege vulnerability. Not the highest, but 7.8 is definitely not great. So make sure to patch. But we'll touch more on some more of the Microsoft stuff in just a little bit. There was a highly evasive Linux malware infects all running processes. I haven't looked too much more into Orbit. I just saw this article, so hopefully it's recent, but I didn't know if you guys had any experience with Orbit yourselves. But it seemed kind of terrifying. So it looks to infect the entire machine, kind of one process at a time. And yeah, anyways, Linux is not immune. Maybe we should have like a tell us your scariest nightmare time where we can all talk about how we I don't know. I don't know if maybe I shouldn't admit to that, getting some sort of malware on our machines. In my defense, it was Windows, and I feel like I was doomed to get malware because it was Windows. But I also, my company, it wasn't me, but my company did get one of their backups encrypted on them. So that was fun. That's why you always have more than one backup and one offsite. Not just for random acts of God, but also because somebody might encrypt them on you. All right, so yeah, Orbit's malware. This is in here just because I didn't have another section to put it, and I found it humorous. A developer turns a future of gaming talk into a surprise attack on conventions, NFTs, and blockchain sponsors. This guy's my hero. Yeah, this guy is my hero. So, I kind of want to go buy his game too. So that's awesome for him because, yeah, I'm probably going to go get whatever game he has. All right, so VMware finally patches one of the security vulnerabilities back in November. Now, I do believe that this CVE wasn't that high. I think it was a 5. Again, 5 is it's not as bad as a 7. It's not as bad as a 7. I don't know who makes up that number, and sometimes I don't agree with what the number is, but I guess that's what I'm going to leave. Finally is patched. Researchers uncover malicious NPM packet. Do I need to cover this? Like, I believe there's a NPM attack every single week. Do we need to? Like, is this just like beating a dead horse? That's an American saying. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not actually beating dead horses. It just means that you've covered it. It's good. Everybody's good that NPM packages are stealing data. You shouldn't use NPM. That's kind of where it comes down to. Just reiterating the supply chain hacks. I know it's July 5th, but I didn't cover it last week because I missed it. Yeah, I suck at my job. That's it. I'm not great at it. All right, so let's talk about Microsoft's bad week. There was this phishing bypassed multi-factor authentication attacks against 10,000 orgs. So there was a lot of phishing attacks on top of, obviously, their cryptocurrency-based miners targeting GitHub Actions and Azure VMs, as well as their Windows 7.8, which is a pretty high CVE for privilege escalation. It's not great. It's not great. And on that note, and I know that Microsoft has been taking some stuff a little bit more seriously with regards to security, and they have a lot of stuff, but it's something we have to be ever vigilant with. Let's talk about Microsoft confirms layoffs ahead of earnings. They're kind of joining the rest of the world. Now, I haven't gotten a head count, but I think it's a very small number. So I'm not sure that this is a big deal. Microsoft does this every once in a while when it realigns stuff because it's a big company and they don't know how to do it in a better way. So yeah. Anyways, let's jump into our cloud news. That was all I knew for security. Do you guys have anything else for security that I missed? Did I miss one of the biggest things out there in Kubernetes or whatnot? Let me know. Let me know what I missed. Let me know how I can be doing a better job. All right, so let's talk about clouds. We're going to jump into Azure. We're going to talk about Azure. Because we're talking about Microsoft and their bad week. So we'll talk some good. We'll talk about some good stuff. And yeah. Where's that? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Azure news. This is an interesting one, and I like this one. Microsoft open sources Salus. I'm guessing it's Salus, but I could be wrong. Their software bill of material generation tool. So this is pretty cool. This is actually very cool. Very cool. As we have talked, bill of materials is like the first step in supply chain and knowing and securing your supply chain. So this kind of plays into our security and kind of a rant I've had for a long time. You have to know what's in your product to know if that supply chain is secure. Excuse me. Whew, I got a little excited there. Okay. So this is actually really cool. Now, I've not played around with Salus yet, but I want to. It looks cool. And so I'm gonna check it out. It has a C# API. Who uses C#? I know a lot of people use C#. I make fun of it though. You know what? I think C# is the better Java. If I was going to use Java, I would use C#. And I love the Roslyn compiler. I don't know that it's called the Roslyn compiler anymore, but like C# when it was open sourced, it's like how I learned software engineering was tearing apart the C# compiler. So yeah, I love the open source for that. Anyways, cool. Super cool. Released under the MIT license. Nothing better than that. So yep, definitely check it out if that's you. They also have released the general availability of the Azure Gateway Load Balancer. I didn't realize this wasn't generally available, but it wasn't. So the Gateway is a fully managed service enabling you to deploy, blah, blah, blah. Everybody knows what a Gateway Load Balancer is. Moving on. Azure Active Directory authentication for exporting and importing managed disks. This is just bringing more Azure Active Directory authentication to different aspects. So cool. Not a big deal. That was really it. Mostly it was just security vulnerabilities that Microsoft had to deal with. Let's move on to Azure. Azure had a couple things. I'm going to rant here on their first thing because I need it to stop. For my own personal sanity, can we stop saying serverless? What the crap do we mean when we say serverless? Like seriously. What does Amazon Redshift serverless is now generally available? Now, if you're using Redshift and this brings you some use, then it's great. And we're going to cover exactly what they mean with serverless here. But one of my points is serverless means something different to just about every single person. So it's a really bad use to words. It's like distroless containers, which aren't distroless at all. They just have stuff ripped out of them. It's a really bad word to use, and I think that we need to stop using the word serverless as well. It's a business buzzword, and that's great. And what it is, it originally was Lambda was serverless, but then there's all this other serverless stuff because Lambda kind of really wasn't great. Anyways, we need to stop just getting on these marketing bandwagons and saying, oh, our thing is serverless or our thing is XYZ. Serverless is usually considered consumption-based, which is most of AWS anyhow. Even when you look at things like their EC2 instances, when you're looking at that, that's really a consumption-based model. You're saying how many CPUs do we want with how much memory? The only difference between serverless and EC2 would be that like it should just scale underneath you and you not have to worry about it. So I don't know. Let's stop using the word serverless. Let's just agree to that. Anyways, Amazon Redshift serverless is now generally available. This means that you can run and scale analytics without having to provision and manage data warehouse clusters. Great. Anyways, this is nice because you don't have to manage the clusters underneath. So it really is not a bad thing. I just don't think serverless is really it. There are servers. You still have to manage your Redshift. They're just, it's Amazon Redshift as a service. That's kind of what I see it as. That automatically scales. Can we just say that? Can we say, yeah, I don't know. Why can't we say that? Anyways, it's pretty cool. And if you're on AWS and you use Redshift or actually another thing that a really good managed service is really useful for is if you're on AWS and could use Redshift but aren't using it. And this makes it easier now that you pay a price for it, but it makes it easier. There is now the general availability of AWS Cloud WAN. So this is making Cloud WAN generally available. And it helps you build, manage, and monitor a unified global network. So that's pretty awesome if you need it. I think the people that need this are probably a little more niche, probably a little bit larger of companies. AWS Lambda Power Tools for TypeScript is now generally available. Who uses TypeScript anyways? And that's actually probably the majority of the world. One second. Give me just a second. All right. I had a small child issue. I think they're okay. Okay. So AWS Lambda Power Tools for TypeScript are now generally available. I think that this is pretty cool because TypeScript in Lambda would be way better than JavaScript in Lambda, per my opinion. Although I'm not great at either, so don't take my word for any of this. Amazon SageMaker adds the MLG5, MLPD4, MLC6i instances for model deployments. Just more instance ranges that you can use if you'd like. And this is really nice because it gives you more variety for your serverless. They really should have named this Amazon Serverless Machine Learning SageMaker. If they really wanted to jump on the marketing bandwagon there. But anyways, this is good because this is going to allow you to basically use the ones that fit your model the best, your programming model the best. So, and the last bit of Amazon news is it seems like Delta Airlines is going to be using AWS. So I can't imagine that Delta has data centers that are better managed than AWS, so this probably should bring some stability to Delta. All right, so if you made it this far, if you're still here, please go ahead and hit that like button. It helps me. It helps me morally. And if you wonder why I even bring it up, is I've done an experiment. I haven't asked a few episodes, and I have asked a few episodes. Vastly different number of likes versus not likes. So if you're still here and still liking this, please go ahead and do that. That will help me out. I appreciate it. Let's move on to Google Cloud. All right. Google, again, did not actually list their best thing here in their Google Cloud. They did some stuff with Cloud Deploy. So if you don't know what Cloud Deploy is, I guess it's kind of like well, now I'm blanking on it. The CloudFormation templates and CDK in AWS, that's kind of what Cloud Deploy is. So if you're unfamiliar with it, that's kind of what it is. But you can now suspend a delivery pipeline, and you can now also permanently abandon a release. Interesting note here is that you cannot unabandon a release. So once you've abandoned it, it's gone. You cannot, it's dead. You can't unabandon it. I believe this is a double negative. Actually, maybe a triple. Cannot is a negative, un is a negative, and abandon is a negative. I believe this is a triple negative, which is a little bit confusing. I know it was confusing to me, but what they mean is once you abandon it, it's gone forever. Anyways, it's cool to see Cloud Deploy being used a little bit better, or getting a few more features out there, because these tools are really useful. But that being said, that wasn't actually the coolest things that came out. Expanding the Tazu VM family with ARM-based processors. This is huge. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of ARM-based processors, and GCP is the last one to the game. I don't know why the rest of the page didn't load. Well, we can't see the rest of it because it's not loading for me, but this is huge. 1 second. Kid problem is persisting. All right. This is really big, and really good. So a lot of the times, like if you're writing Go microservices, you don't need, you can use an ARM. Your code already compiles for ARM, and you can just do it. Now, the one caveat I have to warn you here is that if you're using container images that you don't build, they might not have been built to support ARM. So you have to check that because you might have to rebuild some ARM containers. But Go itself cross-compiles into ARM just fine. And a lot of times you can save yourself a lot of money using ARM. And GCP finally does it. So this is huge. This is one of the biggest things that has happened to GCP. They've been super late to the game. They've needed to have ARM-based processors for a long time, and it's kind of a shame that it took them this long because unlike AWS, who actually created their own hardware, their own ARM chip, this is just commodity hardware. Well, not commodity, but it's enterprise hardware. I cannot show it to you because oh, there we go. It's loaded now. It's just the Ampere, Altera, ARM-based processors. It's just enterprise hardware, and that's all it is. So I'm glad that they have it now, though. I'm glad that they have it. It's good that they got it, and this is huge if you're on GCP because generally you can save yourself a ton of money. So start looking into it. Moving on. Introducing model co-hosting to enable resource sharing among multiple model deployments on Vertex AI. Now, I'm not going to lie. I didn't understand half of what I just said there. I'm hoping that AI people did understand. It's out there. And I mean, supposedly per this, I was reading this. I do understand a little bit. So basically, your models are going to be able to share some resources for better utilization. That's my understanding. So you're going to get better utilization out of your Vertex AI prediction service. So if you're using it, it's definitely something to be looking into. I'm not using it, obviously. All right, so DigitalOcean news. This is not one that's common on here. Report finds that developers are quitting over compensation and remote work policies. This is in fact true. If you won't let them work remotely and force them to move to a city that they don't want to live in, then they are going to leave. And if you don't pay them enough, they're also going to leave. So I don't know. This seems kind of standard. So not a big deal. That was it. They didn't really have any other news that was interesting. They have a share repurchase program, whatever. Doesn't matter. Nothing that interests us. All right. In Kubernetes Cloud Native, the TOC, I call them the talks. The talks voted to advance. Now. I disagree with them. This is Captain. They say it's pronounced Captain, but there's an E. And so they're wrong. The creators are wrong. It's Kepton. To the CNCF, because everybody's going to pronounce it Kepton anyways. Kepton is in the CNCF, so I'm pronouncing it Kepton. Screw that. I know that they want it to be pronounced Captain, but there should have been an A in there. All right, so we're going to touch back on Captain in the open source because I was looking into it. I'd never heard of it before I saw this blog post, and I want to dive into it. There's 2 CNCF projects that I think are similar, but they're very different as well. And I'd love your guys' feedback. I'd love it if you guys have used one and have ideas. I've never used Kepton, but it's definitely something that's interesting. Now, it says that it integrates various CI/CD pipelines and GitOps. This, I think, is actually a little bit of a fallacy because GitOps is on its roadmap. So, sure, it supports GitOps. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, that was it for the CNCF that I saw. Usually it's a little bit quieter in between releases, and I think that also you'll find that it's also quiet in between KubeCon. So people like to do their big announcements around KubeCon, and so yeah. Anyways, all right. Waiting room event scheduling protects your site during online events. So Cloudflare releases another thing, proving that they're actually... So one thing that I love about Cloudflare when they release something is it's purpose-driven, and it's made to make it easier to adopt. I like that about it. I think it also makes it harder to adopt for some reason, but this is a cool thing. It's basically a thing to protect your site with waiting rooms for big events. So if you're scheduling a big event and you don't want everybody to crash your site trying to order, you can basically queue up everything. It's pretty awesome. And it's a waiting room as a service. Waiting room. WRAS. Yeah. Further on in the cloud news, if you thought that I was going to talk about Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 being released and how Rocky is also going to be releasing Rocky version 9 that mimics Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9, you'd be wrong. Everybody knows that Red Hat Enterprise Linux 9 is being released now. What you didn't know is that Red Hat's CEO is stepping down. Now, it's kind of stepping over because he's taking like an executive chair. Who even knows what an executive chair does? I think that they are like the hard definition of vesting and resting. But that's just my personal opinion. Don't take my word for anything on there. But after 21 years, they are stepping out of the CEO and president role and moving on. So we'll have to see. I kind of think that this is an exciting moment for Red Hat. I think that they have a lot of thinking about who they actually are and embracing that. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they've done in the past little bit, but I'm excited to see what the new CEO, what path that they're going to take, because a lot of times they try to forge their own path. So I think that this could be big in Red Hat. For better or for worse, I don't know. I don't know the new CEO, never worked with them. So we'll have to see if this is a step for better or for worse. Sorry, I need to just take a quick little drink. How's everybody's morning going so far? Well, I hope. All right. That is it for our cloud news. Kind of. The other day, you guys chastised me for not knowing what Hugging Face was. Hugging faces. Hugging face. Hugging face. All right. So, in my defense, here in America, there is a popular movie called Aliens. And so, whenever I think of a face hugger, I think of this thing. This is a face hugger. It attaches to your face. It's not pretty. We won't go into it. So I'm sorry when somebody decided to name their service Hugging Face, because That's the only thing that I can think of. Not this happy little emoji that they have with its hands out like this. This is their emoji. It's more smiling like this. I can't smile like it. I just look like I'm mocking it. I wasn't mocking it. Anyways, so I didn't know what Hugging Face was, but I do now. Here is inside a radical new project to democratize AI. I always think that this is a buzzword, so I never actually believe this, but this is a cool paper about artificial intelligence and Hugging Face. So if you know anything about OpenAI's GPT-3, Lambda, Bloom is a new competitor to that made by Hugging Face. Hugging Face released Bloom. Now, the cool thing is unlike some of these other ones, I believe you're going to be able to use it. Anyways, Hugging Face has released it. You can definitely get to see it here. And I'm gonna register to try Bloom. So yeah, that's kind of cool. Never used Hugging Face before though, so we'll see what its pricing and stuff looks like. It's probably not cheap. I wonder if you could self-host it, because they were talking about democratizing it. I would love to be able to self-host it myself, but who knows? Who knows what they're allowing you to do? But Bloom is out there, supposedly even more languages. So give it a shot. And that's it for Cloud News. You know what? I have heard rumors about DigitalOcean. Now, I didn't bring this up because I did read through it. I did read through it, but I don't know both sides. And so it's very easy to take one side and latch onto it. So Start Engine, what I'm referring to is there's a person who lost all of their website and everything. And I don't know. Like you can take that and but it's only one person's story. Oh, you experienced it? So from what I heard is you didn't pay and your stuff was deleted after a certain amount of time. That is, I don't know, kind of what you get. If you don't pay, they're not going to keep your stuff around. At least that would be my assumption. Now, obviously, there should be a grace period. Obviously, there should be, like you don't just delete the stuff immediately. And so there's so much that goes into that, and it's hard either way. Sure, I would love to see it Start Engine. If you have stuff, absolutely, I would love to see it. It's yeah. Absolutely. Please share that with me. If you share something with me privately, I will not share it unless if you give me permission to share it. I do like to bring stuff to light if I can help make a difference. I'd love to hold DigitalOcean to being a better player, because they purposefully sell themselves to indie devs and small developers, and I kind of have lost a little faith in recommending them, because I used to be like, yeah, it's great. I personally have never had a problem, but if I need to stop saying that, and if I need to stop, then I will stop, and I'll call them out on it. So. Yes, Russell, I agree with what you're saying. So I was looking at that, and like I don't know. Again, I don't know. The in my eyes, the Twitter post didn't prove all of it. And I don't know. Now, I would say that this is a good reason to have backups of your stuff. When you make an application, when you design something like that, it's super important to have backups. Now, not just because of a bad cloud provider, but I have started. So Start Engine, you're not the only person. There's another person on Twitter. So that makes 2, which is more than just a coincidence. Because also, honestly, sometimes crap happens. And like that, there's not a better way to put it. And maybe something went wrong. But it's when you start seeing a trend that you really have to, yeah. Anyways, not making any excuse. If any of this even happened half as they said it did, it's horrible, and everybody should avoid DigitalOcean. So I am definitely keeping my eyes and ears open on that. Yeah, and I did look into it this last week because I know that people have been reporting this issue, and so I would love to hear from you if you have anything more on it. Also, if you find more articles or more things on it or more people that would be willing to talk to me, I would love to talk to them. I'd like to condense enough things because I actually know people at DigitalOcean, not that well. I actually had a job offer there that I refused, which kind of now I'm happy that I refused because if they're going to be a company like this. But I'd like to also help give them feedback, and if they're unwilling to hear the feedback, I'd like to also help spread the word not to use them. That's my opinion on that. So yeah, hopefully it's all a big misunderstanding on everybody's side, and hopefully we can resolve it. If not, well, long live the next new startup there. Another company that's maybe making a bad move is Unity. Unity makes a game engine. It's not a game engine I use much. I use Unreal Engine. But Unity is merging with a company who made malware installers. So Iron Source, yep. Not only is that, but Iron Source is laying people off as well. Probably for the merger. I've seen this happen multiple times. But yep, that's probably not great. It's not a great game engine anyways, and it forces you to use C#. Who wants to use C#? All right. Yeah, Start Engine. I will get you a way to message me, and we'll dig into it. And then again, we can talk about it. And anything sent to me privately will stay private unless if you give me permission. But yeah, I'd love to help be part of the solution here. I don't think that... All right, especially if you sell yourself to indie, I would expect that, let's say I pay DigitalOcean to run a Kubernetes cluster. I would expect the moment I don't pay, anything that's actively running would be hibernated. It would be hibernated. I would expect, though, that all my storage and stuff doesn't get deleted instantaneously. I would expect that stays there for at least a month, at least 30 days. That would be my expectation, that, my paying for the last year would mean that I bought that month grace period. That if I, pay up, it would still be there. If they can't meet that expectation, and I will send them an email clarifying these expectations. If I can't meet that expectation, then they can't sell to developers because, yeah. Anyways. All right, let's move on, but I will bring you updates if I have any that I'm able to share. That is really it for the cloud news. Now we have just a few blog articles, not many, like 4. I'm not good at counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, not 4. Greatly different number. Blog articles that I think you guys might be useful. We'll cover them really quickly, and then we have 2 open source projects to talk about. So the first one is 5 ways to deploy microservices. This one I found interesting because they talk about more than just Kubernetes. That would be the reason I find it interesting. I love Kubernetes, as you all know, so it's obviously the best way to do it, but there's definitely different ways of doing it, and they kind of go through some pros and cons. I don't agree completely, but I do actually think that there's, again, this classic serverless area that maybe there's a few people that this really works well for, and you should evaluate. So I definitely think that you should take a look at it. Fargate, ECS Fargate is my favorite here. If I was going to use a serverless technology, it would be Fargate for sure, not Lambdas. Forget this orange line here. I also think Fargate's on Kubernetes, not... I don't know why they say doc. I guess they're talking container. Anyways, it's good. It's a good article, whether you agree 100% with it or not. So, oh dear, this was supposed to be in security. I made a boo-boo. I told you Microsoft had a bad week, and there was one missing. I thought about this. This is the Windows 0 day for Windows. So if you're on Windows, there's this new CVE. I made a boo-boo. Go check it out. My bad. We're moving on, though. All right. This was a great Uber engineering, highly scalable and distributed shuffle as a service. Now, before you read these and decide that this is your problem, remember these people operate at a different scale than a lot of people do, and not all of their problems are your problems. I see it happen with Kubernetes all the time, where somebody takes it because it solved Google's problem. Your problem, even if it's scale, isn't the same scale as somebody like Uber or Google or Netflix. It's a completely different scaling problem. So these are really good to learn from, but remember to read them and learn from them just like that. Anyways, Uber's highly scalable and distributed shuffle as a service. Now, this gets into a lot of Apache Spark. The shuffle, and if you're big into like data processing with like MapReduce, there is this shuffle step, and this goes into basically their shuffle as a service. It's not a dance. That's what I thought it was when I heard shuffle as a service. I thought I got a lot of people like dancing, but nope, no dancing. But it's a really good article. They go into a lot of detail in the different things. So if you're wanting to learn and just expand your mind a little bit, I would recommend reading this. It's a fairly decent read. I think it took me about half an hour to read and actually comprehend, so definitely check it out. The next engineering article here is OWL, a distributed content at Meta at scale. Again, these people give a lot of good information. Don't take it that their problem is your problem. It is more that they had a problem, and this is the thought process that went through fixing their problem. Cha-cha as a service. That's what we need. Cha-cha as a service. Yep. So I love seeing their thought process, helping me think about my thought process when tackling some of these bigger problems. So, anyways. All right, the next one is the next frontier in cloud computing. This person is talking about the super cloud, distributed cloud, meta cloud, or abstract cloud, or cloud native. And this is all referring to this thing that is, multi-cloud. That's kind of what they're talking about here, where it's abstracting the clouds underneath. It's something that I've said is going to be the next major cloud player is the one that is all clouds and none of the clouds. I have said that. I don't like any of these names. I think they're all garbage. I think naming is hard. I think that it's really, once you get past the clouds, you kind of get into space. So let's call it space. Stop calling it clouds or super clouds, cumulus clouds. That's what we're going to call it. Yeah, no, a hybrid, you're right. To me, hybrid is on-prem and in cloud. You're hybrid. And but these people that talk about super cloud could mean hybrid as well, because your data on-premise data center and building an abstraction layer on top of it. Think Anthos, except not limited. So, a project I would love to do is Anthos, but not any cloud. It works on all clouds and local data centers. I think that would be really powerful. It would be multi-cloud as a service. But I wouldn't call it distributed cloud or super cloud either. I would call it space. Like the next frontier. Cloudburst. Cloudburst. I like Cloudburst. I do like Cloudburst. We'll have to go with Cloudburst. All right. I saw this. I was excited about it, and then there were some sad parts about it. There are some legitimately great Linux laptops out there. System 76, I've always had really great use out of System 76 Linux laptops built for Linux, and it's great. And then I saw this. Roma, the first RISC-V laptop, may ship in September. I was like, whoa, let's check that out. I want a RISC-V. Roma, if you want a review of your RISC-V laptop, send it to me. I will review it. But in their architecture here, because of course I had to go read about it, Roma is Web3 friendly. It's a picture. I can't highlight it. It's right here. What does Web3 friendly mean? What does it even mean that your laptop is Web3 friendly? Is there a laptop that is Web3 not friendly? Because I prefer to buy that one. Can I buy the anti-Web3? It won't work with Web3. If you try to buy an NFT on it, it crashes. That's the laptop that I want. Now, I believe that this is just marketing. They threw this in there because it's open source. But Roma, come talk to me. We'll talk about Web3 and how not to do marketing. An Android laptop? Please no. I wish that I could run Ubuntu on my phone, and I know that I can. And please don't correct me. It sucks. It's not great. It's not a great experience. Don't do it. All right. 12 ways to improve your monolith before transitioning to microservices. This is something I have actually harped on quite a bit. Not all problems are solved by microservices, and sometimes it's really good to start with a monolith first. And I've always said, and I've been meaning to make a video on it because I made the whole microlith video, which also I thought was clickbait, and I guess it turned out not to be really clickbait, that you can make a well-made monolith that if you then do scale, the monolith is really easy to prototype, really quick to get out, really easy to deploy. It has a lot of benefits. It just doesn't scale with the team very well. So it allows you to get out there really quickly, and then if you do scale, if you do it right, it's easier to break apart. And I really like this article. This is my engineering blog of the week because I agree with it, and I like stuff that I agree with. But I think it's also really good for people to realize that they are not hamstrung if they pick a monolith for speed and ease of use at the beginning. Start engine. It's fine to be divided on a Web3 topic. It really is. I'm okay if you like Web3. Now, I will have a heated debate with you, but I hope that we can have those debates. I really do. Like, that's the whole point of having a different opinion. If we're not okay with other people having a different opinion, then yeah. Now, I would, Start engine, I have a video on how you use blockchain every single day. I like blockchain. I really do. I don't like Web3, and I have a lot of reasons for it, and they'll come out in a video eventually. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Talk about them on the Discord. Join the Discord and talk about them. I encourage you to. Yeah. Now, obviously, I'm pretty opinionated on mine. Oh yeah, you're. Well, you should let me know which what blockchain do you work on. And just tell me what I'm missing. I really am open to the fact that I could be missing something. That's why I do a lot of research on blockchain. I think that it solves some cool problems. I'm not sure they're problems we have, but there's some cool problems that they solve. So anyways. All right. Anyways, I really do like this blog article. And it embodies a lot of the things that I think are really important for a good monolith. Now, I would say that adding observability is something that you should have already had in your monolith. But anyways, it's still a good starting part if you need to. So I definitely suggest that you read it. And hopefully this encourages some people not to think that they need microservices right off the bat. Another blog article that I found really nice was an end-to-end walkthrough of a GCP deployment for speech to translation. A lot of times you're like wondering exactly all the different components. You know, you ran a small model on your local PC, but how to actually get that into the cloud can be hard. I thought that this was a very straightforward walkthrough, and yeah, I enjoyed following it. So there's that. And that's it for our interesting articles. Those will be linked in the description of this video afterwards. But now we're on to our open source. Yeah, Start Engine. If I will make sure that it's in the description of this video afterwards, so you can get that. Let me actually find it. I should be able to find it, right? I'm not very good at Discord, so give me just 1 second. It's in a lot of my videos. Go watch my blockchain video. I know it's in that one. Please don't be offended by my blockchain video. I am opinionated. We all have opinions. I am of the opinion that I can be wrong. I think it's really important for us to all be able to server settings. Where is my invite links? Invitations. Oh, no, that's integrations. I read integrations as invitations. Holy crap. How do I get the invite code? I will find you that link. Okay, yeah. So anyone, any of my videos. Let me just pull up one of my videos. Actually, you know what? Let me pull up the video you should watch. All right. Now, I meant for this to be very clickbaity. And in the end, it was not. Here is, let me see, Discord link. There's a link. Sorry it took so long. Not a Discord person. Anyways, you should watch this video. How you use blockchain every single day. Well, every day. Not every single day. Just every day. Man, I thought this was clickbaity. This proves how bad I am at clickbait. I didn't even get this. Yeah, people were like, yeah, this isn't clickbait. Anyways, I suck at clickbait. Anyways, watch that video. Let me know what you think. I really do want a discussion. I even stated this as I want to start a discussion with people. So don't take my opinions as offensive. I don't mean them to be. I am opinionated. I believe we're all opinionated. So yeah. All right. Let's talk about our 2 open source projects. I am looking forward to a heated debate in Discord. So I'm looking really forward to that. Let's talk about Captain, not Captain. I refuse to call it Captain. And Backstage. Now, these are 2 things that I've been looking into, and I want to know if you guys have actually been using them. Captain, I haven't used, and wasn't even looking into until like the middle of the week. But I'm looking in for these, they say DevOps automation. I don't even know what that means. Like, that's a lot of buzzwords, too many buzzwords to actually have meaning. You know, once you get more than a single buzzword, it loses all meaning. That's at least my theory. Once you get a critical number of buzzwords, you can't derive any meaning because you're just throwing buzzwords on there. Anyway, Backstage is easier for me to wrap my head around and to understand exactly what it does. But I think now I could be very wrong because again, Captain was difficult to actually understand what it did. So many buzzwords in every single sentence. Separation of concerns for higher compliance. Okay. That sounds good. I don't know what it means. Event-based automation for easy extend. Again, event-based automation is good, but it's hard to understand exactly what it does and how it does it. So I believe these 2 are very similar. And what I'm going to do is I actually test these things out. And I've been playing around with this. I'm either going to start streaming this on Twitch, which is what I probably will do, but I have time where I'm testing these things out, and I might as well stream it, and you might as well all be along the ride for me. As I test things out, I write some code for the null database and or Legion. If you guys don't know, I had this project called Project Gary, and I've been piddling around with it, and I'm really going to pick up steam later this year. I have solidified some of the plans, and we're going to be making videos on it, so you can just join and watch the videos, but I also want to stream working on it. I have renamed it to Legion because I think Legion makes more sense than Project Gary because everybody's like, what Gary and why Gary? And it's because it's SpongeBob SquarePants' pet snail, and then I realized that people outside of the United States haven't watched SpongeBob SquarePants as a child, and they don't know that he has a pet snail whose name is Gary. And why it was called that, because sometimes naming is hard. Naming is hard. We'll go with that. Anyways, I just want to stream those things and play around with these technologies like Backstage and Captain and understand them better with you guys. And I don't always want to make a full video on Captain. Like, don't get me wrong. Some of these will be really awesome and I'll make a full video on them and I'll go through all the work to try to support them and encourage them and their adoption and how to use them. Kind of like I did with some of the Kubeflow ones. But I don't want to do that with all of them. I just want to try them out. And maybe I hate them. Or maybe I don't think that they're useful to me. And then I don't want to do anything more with them. I just experimented with them. So I want to start doing that more. And I think I'll probably do that on Twitch. And then I might have the VODs here on YouTube somewhere. Maybe on the one channel. Not on this channel. But we'll work that out. But that's happening towards the end of this year. For sure. Anyways. Have you guys used Captain? Have you guys used Backstage? If you haven't, what have you used? I'm actually currently evaluating Backstage for my organization. Would it be useful? Does it bring value, or does it bring something? One thing that I have is, do you bring on Backstage and find that, you're not big enough to use it? And so it's actually just more work to maintain than it actually brings you developer productivity. Because some of these tools I really think only pay dividends once you become large enough. Um, and maybe if you adopt them too early, you're not large enough, and really you've just brought on technical debt and all this extra work, and you're not even able to leverage it and utilize it properly. So these are some of the things that I worry about and what I think about when looking at a new technology to adopt, especially when you're talking about a smaller company. Sure, we have aspirations to be the next Netflix, not in its current state. Let's not use them anymore. The next Microsoft, but aspirations of being the next or the next Oracle. No, I don't want to be Larry Ellison or a turd. So I don't want to use Oracle either. What company can I use now? I want to be the next. I'll have to think about the company name. Maybe I shouldn't try to be the next anything. All right. Anyways, so that being said, I've been looking at Backstage, playing around with it. Have you guys ever used it? How many tools is too many tools? Again, I think that this is a really good conversation. And I think it depends on your company, how big your company is, how good the team is at the different tools and adopting them and supporting them. I think that there's a bunch of different things like that go into this. You can also get into decision paralysis, where there's so many tools out there and all of them you could make work. This is actually something that I have gotten, or I'm learning right now. And one of the lessons that I've learned recently is I'm always afraid of making a decision that my teams hate and then, forcing them to do that. And I have realized that I have to at some level to avoid decision paralysis, because if you give a bunch of really smart engineers, I have a lot of really smart engineers that are fantastic. If you give them the chance to sit there and argue for months about a single tool or between two, they will. They absolutely will. And at some point, you need to be like, well, we're using this. Let's move on. Let's go. And it's not a bad thing. And, so there's always a happy medium, because you're also there to empower your engineers. And, part of that is I take on all the blame. If a decision or tool doesn't work out, I take that for my entire division. So that's my servant leadership principles that I hold very dear to. So yeah, anyways, those are my thoughts. I don't know. Have you guys used Backstage? I really like it, but I'm just wondering if it's too much. Anyways, I'm playing around with it. I'm adding Captain to the list. I'm going to let you guys know next week. Next week, I'm going to let you guys know a little bit more about these two. I've been playing around with them locally, both Captain and Backstage. Well, I haven't been playing. I just started playing around with Captain like last Wednesday. And by that, I installed it. Haven't done a thing with it other than install it. Backstage, I have done. And it's actually pretty cool. Now, it has a lot of bells and whistles and configuration, and so that's what I'm a little worried about. But, yeah. Anyways, that's it for me today. I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I hope that you guys have a really great and fantastic week going into the future. And I look forward to talking to you guys on Discord about topics like blockchain. Is there any tips for keeping your teams from locked into a vendor? You know what, Rubber Cable? You know what? Vendor lock-in is difficult. Vendor lock-in is really easy. This is actually a really good topic. Maybe it's worthy of a video. Let me go with mine. A certain amount of vendor lock-in can be good. I know that sounds really bad, but you can take vendor lock-in as technical debt as long as you realize it up front that this is technical debt that you're taking on. You can get a bunch of vendor lock-in and create a service in a weekend with AWS. That's amazingly powerful. If you didn't have any vendor lock-in with AWS, it would take you months to do the same thing, or a larger team. So you can leverage vendor lock-in as a piece of technical debt to empower your rapid prototyping and whatnot. And so vendor lock-in isn't all bad. There are actually positives to vendor lock-ins. You just have to weigh them with what you're going to do. How likely is it that you need a GCP? If you're going to say in 10 years you also need to run on GCP, well, take that vendor lock-in. Don't even think about it. Take the vendor lock-in, and if you've made it and need to make a GCP, then you have a much bigger team to handle dealing with fixing your vendor lock-in. So I think it's more about and I know that I throw around the buzzword tech debt, but I think it's about understanding your tech debt and understanding what technical debt you're taking on, when, and why. Why are you doing it? So if you're really trying to strive to keep vendor neutral, the easiest way is like with microservice. I say that microservices have to be independently deployable. Well, actually force yourself to deploy independently. Then you know that you've never gotten a codependency there because they're all deployed independently. A lot of people are like, oh, they're independently deployable, but they deploy them all at the same time, so they don't actually know. If you're going to say one of the best ways to prevent any vendor lock-in, if that's your goal, is to actually deploy on both GCP, Azure, and AWS. Now you've ensured there is no vendor lock-in, and you ensure that every single deployment. Now that's expensive and it has its own upfront cost. Will GCP even exist? I don't know. I get mixed signals from GCP, honestly. I really do. I get mixed signals from GCP. I feel like AWS and Azure are the better choices, as much as that pains me to say that Microsoft is a better... Microsoft really hasn't been a bad company for the past 5 years. Whenever... What's his face? I don't know. I love Ballmer because I've not seen a CEO jump on a stage like Ballmer has. But as far as what he did with the company, I'm just not a fan. New CEO... I cannot pronounce his name for the life of me. I like him. I think he's done a good job. So, I don't know, Rubber Cable. Does that answer your question? I don't know that... It's not... And you know what? Vendor lock-in isn't even about... Okay, it's not even about GCP or Azure. You can talk about vendor lock-in into, like, your container runtime. Are you locked into Red Hat? Are you using Red Hat specific OpenShift features? If you are, you're vendor locked in. And it's a really hard one, but it's realizing when you are. Even open source projects. Are you locked into Kubernetes? Will Kubernetes exist in 10 years? I have Project Legion that's out there, and I doubt that Kubernetes is going to exist in 10 years. That's just a fact. Once people touch the sweet, sweet Project Legion, I doubt it. Okay, I'm joking. Again, that's a joke, guys. I think Kubernetes will still exist. But I don't think that Kubernetes will always be there. It will be the Fortran of the future. Kubernetes now is the future Fortran. Supercomputer. Whatever. It will go away eventually, but you're probably locked into it now. but that's fine. That's okay. It's okay to have some vendor lock-in. Cocaine is a hell of a drug, though. Okay, that's not the vendor I was talking about. Let's not bring our drug dealers into this. Start Engine, I am going to go over it privately with you. I don't want to share anything publicly just yet. I actually really want to do my due diligence. I'm not a reporter. I generally just cover what other people report, but when I do my own reporting, I do try to do at least a little bit of due diligence so I'm not just off the cuff. And if it's really bad, I actually would like to make a video covering it. I'd love to make a YouTube video about the dangers of DigitalOcean that they can respond to. Because they won't respond to my email, but they will respond to my YouTube videos, probably. Maybe not. If enough people give it a like and shout out, maybe they'll respond to it and actually force some action. So I want to do that in private with you, not in public. Okay. I have also reached out to this other person on Twitter. I don't actually know how to pronounce their name, or I would, but hopefully they respond to me, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. Okay. Yeah. Let's not. So yeah, I don't know. Vendor lock-in is an interesting one because we all have it. We all have tools that we have to use. Are you locked in on containers? You might be like, oh, I don't have vendor lock-in because I use OCI spec, but that's still locked into containers. Oh, you were making a point about Palmer jumping on stage. Cocaine is a hell of a drug. I'm sorry. I don't. It's too early in the morning for me to actually relate to that. Anyways, thank you all for joining. It's been a fantastic time. Absolutely enjoyed it. I will talk to you all next week. Maybe at a slightly different time, though. See ya.